Surf's up, it's Mauisnake here. We failed stage 2 spectacularly. Yesterday, things were looking pretty good. I had 4 picks. I had Navi, I had Paravision, Bait, and MIBR all secured. I needed just one of Astralis, NIP, or M80 to win their games. If Tyloo had just beaten Liquid the day before, if M80 had just beaten Imperial, there were so many ways for this to have worked. I even got a second chance on all of them, basically. Astralis could have beaten Liquid today. NIP could have beaten 3D Max. M80 could have beaten Passion UA. If you actually looked at a betting website, they all said that these teams were the favorites going into the matches, and they all let me down. But 4 out of 5, again, as I did in stage 1. So we are well behind. None of the people actually on this list, or really anybody I saw, have a chance of getting diamond still. And so here's the simulator that I've drawn up. Again, I picked a couple of underdogs, just kind of runs that I think are going to be a little bit more difficult, but more or less this is going to show the teams that I think are most likely to make it through. The one kind of curious one that I think is probably where you're maybe scratching your head the most is the Furia losing to Navi. I think Furia are the favorites going into this major, but I just don't think it's going to go the most straightforward route for them. So I think they might lose to a Navi team that's already warmed up from stage 2, where Wonderful and Bit are just looking insane right now. I think that their wins for Navi were legitimate enough that it wasn't just kind of like a FlyQuest run or anything like that, where they just 3-0'd because it was just too easy for them. But for the rest of it, I feel like this is pretty stable. Vitality getting through unscathed, having to play G2 perhaps in the 2-0 game. Falcons playing Spirit. We all know how that one goes. I mean, Nico and Monacy have just had Donk's number forever. I don't think he's ever beaten them, actually. So that I'm going to have Vitality and Falcons making it through as my 3-0s. I think the only 3 teams you should be putting 3-0 are Vitality, Falcons, and Furia. Of course, me not picking Furia means that Furia is somehow going to just make it through, but it is what it is. I'm still very confident that either Vitality or Falcons are going to make it through, even if Furia beats one of them in the 2-0 game here. Now, for the 0-3 picks, I'm actually really feeling out a tough run for Paravision. You could see that their openers versus G2. In my simulator, they'd have to play Furia in the second round. That seems a little bit tough and might not be that likely, even if Navi win, but they still are going to have a hard match there. And then in the 0-2 game, they would probably have Paravision from what I've drawn up. So I did put them in this simulator as 0-3, and then Imperial, I mean, come on, like opening game versus the Mongols might be their best chance to win a match. So, but Mongols have just looked good enough to probably get this one done. I don't really have a lot of faith in the Mongols, if I'm being honest, but I do think that they can beat Imperial even with their weakened lineup. And then Bait would take down Imperial in the second round here. I'm pretty confident in that. I think Bait's looked sharp enough for sure. And then Pain would duke it out with Imperial in the 0-2 game. I don't have a lot of faith in Pain either. So my 0-3s would be Passion UA and Imperial. And then my 3-1s, very plausible routes for them: Spirit, Navi, Maus, FaZe, G2, Furia. However, I think the way to do pick'ems should be a little bit different. Given that it was an 0-2 game for both Imperial and for Pain, I have the least faith in these 2 teams. I think the 3 teams that are the most likely to go 0-3 are Pain, Imperial, and Passion UA. So if you want to switch out one of these and just run with a simulator, I think that's totally fine. But I'm going to be going with Pain. I just think this team has looked so flat, so dead for way too long. And if your star player is now with some position swaps supposed to be Snow, you're not making it through this. Okay, I just have no faith in them there. For Imperial on the other side, I like their run. I can respect their run. I am impressed that they even made it this far, but I don't think that they go further. And so for my picks, I'm going to go Vitality, Falcons. I'm going to be going Spirit make it through, Maus make it through, Furia make it through, FaZe make it through, Navi makes it through, and the last one, G2. G2 makes it through. So yeah, these are my picks. This is what I'm going to be syncing up to plug on in. I think that I'll go through all the teams though. So here, okay, Vitality, Falcons, Furia. This is basically my S tier. I'll put them all right here. This is. I think that you could put Fury for either of these and just be totally satisfied with it. In fact, if you had to ask me today who I think is going to win the major, I'd probably stick with Furia. I know that it's kind of weird to not put them 3-0 for that reason, but yeah, I just think that they have the right blend of really up to date tactics, great team synergy, an excellent in game leader in Fallen, and even if you want to take away some of the credit that he deserves by saying that Yekendar's helping to call, he helps center them in high pressure moments better than even lately what Kicksan's been doing or anybody on Falcon's been doing, and with Vitality seemingly in a state where they're not looking quite as hungry as they did in the past. For Maus, again, I'm never going to doubt Maus in a group stage. For Spirit, just by far you have the best player in Donk. Even if you want to say Zai was the better player or Monacy's the better player, you have one of the three best players in the world. And I have pretty strong faith that they'll be looking a little bit refreshed after taking some time off. So yeah, I think that they're very likely to make it through at least. FaZe, on the other hand, I just think that they've powered up. I mean, this is probably the most illogical pick and more. But then again, stage two makes you have to say that you can ration that they are actually going to make it through. Navi, on the other hand, I mean, that stage two was blistering. G2, on the other hand, I think this is probably the team that looked like the biggest fluke of the season with their London win. But I have a lot of faith in Saw. He's been one of the better coaches in the space for some time now, so I feel like they're going to come into this more well prepared. And for Mongols, without their best player in Senzu, I know that they had the nice singular run. I think that was it. What was that? Chengdu. Yeah, that's nice and all, but I don't have faith in them moving forward after that. They're going to give someone some problems, though. They're going to take some people down in BO1s or maybe even like a 1-2 or a 2-2 game. I'll bet you that. Paravision, just think that the road ends here. Too many rookies, not really deep enough or varied enough playbook. I think people have seen them enough through stages 1 and 2. They have enough footage now. You have to take them seriously, and so people know that Jane wants to default for a minute, run a set piece play with anywhere between 25 to 50 seconds on the clock. So you're just kind of holding nades for those kinds of plays. Now, Bait, I also think this is the youngest team that's even in this at like 21 years of age or something. So good pieces. Like I think Kensisor is really shown as a more aggressive rifler, that he's great. NPL is more of a mid-late round player. Headtrick even had a little bit of a surge in stage 2. I think they're good. I put him as 2-2 to make it through, or 2-2 as in they're going to play on the final day. But with just a bunch of rookies, man, the likelihood is so low. Want to believe in them. But Passion UA, good on JT and Grim to make it through their first stage of a major. Like, they have never before today actually gone through, usually falling at the last hurdle, even off of some good starts. I think, what was it, Copenhagen, where they were Complexity, where they had a Liege, where they went 2-0 to start, but then they ended up 2-3, but then I think they played like Vitality, Maus, and maybe like Spirit or something like that. Yeah, I forgot who the third team was. I don't know if it was Spirit, but either way, yeah, that was disappointing. But Liquid, on the other hand, I think this team's just been running on fumes. I barely think that they're good enough in terms of structure to be making it through the last stage, just kind of propelled by individuals. I mean, they look a little bit more well-rounded. I feel like they have outlined how they want to mid-round and finish rounds a little bit more. They're a little bit more used to each other, but I just don't. I mean, compared to some of these teams that are way more experienced together, I can't really see them making it. And then 3D Max, really gimmicky. I like 3D Max again. Like, I really still enjoy watching them play, even though I was rooting against them for the final game because I needed NIP to get my stage 2 pick'ems through. But I mean, their train looks sick. Their Dust 2 has looked good. Their Inferno has looked good. Like, a few of their maps, and they'll be able to get those in BO1s and in series, that they will run people if they are not prepared. But the problem with playing in stage 3 is that you have a lot of teams now who have really good coaching staff, and you have very coachable players. That meaning that the tendencies of 3D Max, the execs they like to go to, are going to be countered by people like Heavy God, who worked with Saw, and Sun Pius, who's been coached by Saw, who now knows where he needs to post up for the highest likelihood shots to get opening picks versus 3D Max. Same goes with Wonderful on Navi. Like, they have just elite staff who can game plan around 3D Max so much better than what I would consider the tier 1.5 teams, who are more so just IGL, coach, and it's up to the individuals to prepare for the opposing teams. I think that if you look at Vitality, Falcons, Furia, Maus, Spirit to an extent, and Navi and G2, all of those teams I just think will game plan against 3D Max well enough. And then FaZe is just experienced enough that they know when they play against a team that's in this sort of set style, they know how to adjust as individuals to counter that. So that's why I think 3D Max would fall there. And yeah, like I said, I think the O3 likely teams are Imperial Pain and Passion UA. I think there's kind of a wide amount of O3 possible teams because I don't think any of the teams are really bad anymore. It's just that they're more likely to just lose out. And the reason I'm putting Imperial Pain is because I had them both in my O2 game against each other. And if I've learned anything from these stages, if you have a really good chance of getting two teams to face each other who are both on the weaker end, just pick both. I mean, I don't want to have to try to bet that both Passion UA and Imperial both lose their games separately away from each other. The meta of these pick'ems is something I'm still trying to understand. I saw some articles online that the best, like even something where you're picking the favorite all the way through, like just the bookmaker favorites, you still, and the O3s that are the weakest by the bookmakers, you still have like a 30% chance, 31% chance of getting through the stage successfully just because BO1s have a randomness to them. And then even the best teams can just go 3-1, 3-2. And then the canceling out effect of, let's say Furia makes it, but Vitality does. Let's say Furia is the 3-0 team, Vitality's here. You just lose 2 of your 5 out of 9, and then you only have 7 chances. And you might just do the same thing with here, and then you have to be practically perfect. You know, it's just so difficult. Actually, no, it's not 9. It's out of 10. But either way, you just lose so many chances so quickly because these things cancel each other out. Either way, I don't need to go any further on this one. I hope you guys have been having a great major. I'm now actually in first place in terms of HLTV fantasy. I'm not revealing anything here though, so hopefully you guys have some good luck there. And yeah, again, guys, reminder: I'm on for the playoffs of this event too. So if you see me, say hi. I appreciate everybody that takes photos and shows gratitude. I don't bite, even though my takes can be pretty feisty. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. And as always, being toxic is a choice.